Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
And a big old howdy to you, live from the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. Hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to the Big Biz Show. I'm Costa. It's Mary Bird Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov. Of course, right there behind the bar, Captain Finance.
Can I bring you
Sully? Yes, you
to
can.
the sunny, warm land
Yes.
of New Jersey?
Oh, yes.
Have you guys been to New Jersey? New Jersey?
I have been.
You've had to see a game at Rutgers. You have.
Went to school in New Jersey.
You went to school? Where'd you
Montclair State.
No kidding.
Go Indy. Well, we were the Indians, but now they're the Red Hawks.
Oh, really? Yeah. Is that less offensive?
I know. That's it.
Red Hawk Indian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only 7-year college in the nation, right?
Thank
Mike?
God.
I never understood why you were honoring something like a Redskin. Like watching Redskins was the owner's wife was an Indian. The original owner for watching Redskins, his wife was honoring his wife.
I know.
How is that offensive?
I don't know. It kind of got caught up in that we've got to change this or people want that changed.
The one where I got on this bandwagon here was when I was doing talk radio, my first year in talk radio, when we were doing a live remote from San Diego State, and I was a San Diego State Aztec, and the Native American Student Alliance, which would be Native American, was complaining about the Aztecs, which were Central America. And the college kids didn't really put two and two together why it wasn't offensive to them.
It's just, and I don't know if there's many Aztecs right now who are out protesting the Aztec name. I don't think they've been around for like 1,000 years.
Well, I put the in Aztec. Look who's here from New York at the Small Cap Conference. It is Howie and Devin. Look at you guys.
Wow.
Look at you.
What's going on, guys?
Ahoy, Poloy.
Atlantic City.
It's just jamming back there.
Devin looks like
Is
a
there
priest.
anybody even in there?
I am slightly a priest in this case. Also, Sully, when it comes to Redskins, after a few whiskeys, I get Redskin, and I'm not offended at all. So I'm on your side on that one.
Sounds like he's on speed, but you're crawling through a tunnel of hair. I'm just saying, right? Like his face is like emerging.
Right.
Howie, let's talk about what the environment was like there. You've been to a number of these things for us on the air. What happened?
Yeah, so this has been actually a really active conference. The main hall is right upstairs. We wanted to get the welcome microcap sign for our little spot here, but we've got hundreds of people. There's $9.9 billion, in market cap here.
Wow.
So there's quite a lot of companies, and they have a lot to say, lots of presentations. The Motley Fool had a speaker yesterday, some fun comedy shows that we
Tom
endorsed,
Papa.
and Tom Papa, that's right. And it's been an excellent conference. Lots of deal making happening.
Did you
people like Steve Ritchie?
Is it investors and companies looking for capital? Is that what it is, or is it just about awareness? What's
there are service providers to the market cap and clientele. So there's lawyers and stock transfer agencies and promoters and things like that. They're definitely here. But there are a lot of actual capital formation people, if they're deal finders or syndicate people, or they're actually representing their own fund or their own money. We've seen all cases here today.
As you guys,
I actually got this whole thing completely wrong, too, by the way, guys. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought we were supposed to have tiny hats. That's why I brought these tiny hats. Microcap. Come on, guys. We got you a microcap.
You knew that was coming.
It's been like this.
You knew that was on the way.
All week.
I'll be here all the weeks.
I love your comedic timing there, Father Doan. Thank you very much for that. You, as you guys wander the floor there and stuff, is it little groups huddled? Are there displays? Is it like a trade show, or is it just a lot of like, hey, talk to you later type of stuff?
We did a lot when it came to, for instance, the Bio conference in San Diego earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And we saw that was much more, I have a booth, come to me, see me, check me out.
Well, go back to work, boys. You guys have a great time.
This is a big, gorgeous ball.
Yeah, stay right there. We'll go back to New Jersey here in just a second.
Let's just let them go.
Oh, sweet.
Turn them loose.
Let's just turn them loose. They're there for a whole nother day. We can talk to them tomorrow also.
All right. Flush it and moving on. you're watching, wherever you're listening. We roll along here on the Big Biz Show. Thanks for being along for the ride. Of course, that beautiful music here in the background is the DTT, the best in the business. Over here at the bar, I'm Costa, Mirabert Godwin, of course, our exec producer, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Good to see you guys. Howie Font from New York City on his way over to Small Cap Conference to meet Devin for their Odd Couple reunion. And by the way, it was Tony Curtis on Broadway, Tony Randall on TV,
and Jack Lemmon
and Jack Klugman.
Jack Klugman.
Jack Lemmon on Broadway, Jack Klugman. Isn't that interesting? Two Tonys, two Jacks.
Jack
Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau.
Walter Matthau.
Or the movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. There was a movie also. Hey, so Howie, is this stolen AI? Tell me what's happening with this, because this DeepSeek thing is going to be. Look at when you have an impetus like this that causes an entire sector to drop like that. It means that people are taking this seriously. When you saw Chinese companies swoon about 10 years ago, it wasn't as bad as this, because remember how we were overinvested in Chinese public companies. When you saw cannabis take a swoon 12 years ago, it wasn't as big as this, even though everybody was invested in cannabis at the time. This is a little bit different. This is like when Thomas Penfield Jackson in 1999 determined that there was an antitrust going on with Microsoft and Google. And because guess what was on the way? www was coming, and it came. This is almost the same type of thing, in my opinion. The reason that's why the market took such a hit, because everybody's taking this AI ChatGPT very seriously.
Yeah, so I think the big question is, we thought we knew who these winners were. It was going to be people that had access to the billions of dollars of capital you would need to get the best models, the best compute, and who would have the storage capacity to loan it out to the rest of the world. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic, Perplexity. We thought we knew who the winners of this would be. Microsoft, you wouldn't have enough oxygen anywhere else for there to be a big winner. But if you can take $6 million and make something just as good as what ChatGPT is doing, that is a big sea change, and it means that actually, since it's more efficient, we'll see even greater demand. That we just don't know who the winners will be if it's that efficient and that low entry.
So does this cause any hitch in the giddy up, so to speak, in terms of the adoptability or the credibility of AI and ChatGPT for the rest of the world, or even worse, for the people top of the food chain? Investors.
I think it's a huge wake-up call for the U.S. tech industry, because we always think of ourselves as having the bleeding edge, and I think a lot of people were freaked out when they saw, China's right behind us and actually better at us in a lot of ways. Pound for pound, this DeepSeek beats all of our models, no question. And they were doing things that our companies hadn't thought of, and so that's why you see things like the White House coming out today saying we're looking into the security implications here. And just for Mike, a little tidbit, someone asked DeepSeek to write some code modifying itself, and it was able to double its speed in just a couple hours.
See,
so
it's over.
It is thinking for itself.
It's over.
So wait, so Howie, how long before this is verified, validated, whatever?
Yeah, so it's not technically open source based on the technical definition, but they have released a white paper with the weights, basically how the model was built. So we should be able to see if it looks like they were just scraping ChatGPT or looking at some trading data that maybe was hacked and they found publicly in China, but technically they don't have the rights to. So it's going to take a couple of weeks for people to go through and see if that was obscured in any way, if they just did it and they're just letting it be that transparent that we're just copying from you, or it'll take even longer to determine, wow, they really did do this on their own with their own proprietary data.
Space Odyssey is here.
That's the minority view, but
2001 Space Odyssey is here with the HAL 2000.
Howie, one thing to always remember, man, China ain't got no Super Bowl like America does, okay? So park your brakes there.
Have to be nervous about. No.
Okay. Well, you talk about $6 million and what, 200 people, and that's how this deep thing came about. or whatever. So should people like physical human beings?
Deepseek is what it's called.
Enough with the technical talk,
Yeah,
Mike.
right.
There's some of us trying to keep up.
This friggin' thing called deep funyun. Now, was it no? So should people in that sector should they be worried about? Okay, well there goes my job.
Listen, I don't think the space as a whole has shifted that much. It's still going to be tremendous. It's still going to be, like Sully said, bigger than the WWW. And we still do need to think about how that's going to make service jobs, especially, first and second year law students. Sorry, you're useless as a paralegal. A lot of paralegal work. That's the kind of thing that will happen here, and that is still going to happen.
Yeah.
And DeepSeek is a phenomenon of that accelerating. But I think the question is now, who are the winners going to be? Because it could be, hundreds instead of just 5.
Howie, Bedside Manor Font.
Love him,
buddy. Good luck at the conference with Devin. We'll see you tomorrow, and can't wait to hear from you. Mike, I have a question for you. You brought up the Super Bowl,
yes.
Which makes me think economic impact.
Oh.
For what city this year?
New Orleans.
That's exactly right.
Massive.
We're talking about, now listen, let me tell you what. Just 4 years ago, the economic impact of the Super Bowl was about $750 million. It's close to $1.3 billion in economic impact. Direct spending is close to, $300 million. Tax income is something like $100 million through the city. And let's talk about the trickle effect of how many beignets are selling, how many hot dogs. Those are all part of the economic numbers, but all the small businesses that get to benefit from, people buying Duraflame logs for the tailgate parties, all the way down to the guys selling deli sandwiches right before the game. Right.
Well, and you think how now, we've all been to New Orleans. The French Quarter is not the biggest place on earth. Canal Street is not the biggest place on earth. So as this game gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people want to go, it starts bleeding out into the other areas of New Orleans. And you've got. You mentioned Cafe Du Monde and beignets, and not everyone's going to be able to go there, so they're going to have to go to another place.
Right.
And that just drives it.
It reminds me, so here in Southern California, San Diego is basically like Fresno. We don't have any teams with the Padres, which is barely a team. But if you think in terms of LA, when they built Staples Center, Staples Center, of course, where the Lakers play, Staples Center, where all entertainment emanates from right now that you see. Staples Center was in one of the worst, before Staples Center was there, it was one of the worst areas.
Horrible.
In Los Angeles. And if you take concentric circles, geographically on the map, look at Staples Center, I'm doing this circle because it's round, and you go out, all the way out to almost Orange County, which is close to 47 miles away. Increases in real estate values have gone up.
Look what Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, has done to Inglewood.
Yeah.
Inglewood was
well, and we're talking about where Great Western Forum was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great Western Forum was where the Lakers used to be, which is right next to Long Beach, which is next to East Long Beach, which is next to Inglewood, which was not a great part of town.
Now it is.
Now, economic impact, when I say not a great part of town, there was no tax base, there was no love for the city of Los Angeles there. And now, because of some of these sporting events, which, by the way, are not criteria specific to age or gender or income, it has created everything for everyone. So doesn't that maybe get the argument that if you can bring a Super Bowl, or if you can bring an NFL team or a NBA team into your city, and you're a city like San Diego, or you're a city like San Jose, I'm just talking West Coast cities for now, or you're a city like Fort Lauderdale, okay? You're talking about big cities, but not big enough to have that. Wouldn't that change everything? And wouldn't the major leagues probably welcome that with open arms?
Listen, the NFL still to this day hates the fact that Dean Spanos, period.
Or the Chargers.
Or the Chargers. Hates the Chargers and hates the city of San Diego for being so ass backwards and not being able to get a stadium deal done.
Well,
I'm still not over it.
They love this
Part of the problem was, and the reason they're mad at Spanos is because listen, I will tell you, me and a guy named Steve Hartman were called into the office of Spanos, because I was doing talk radio at the time and he was doing afternoon for sports. I was doing politics, he was doing sports. And they said, what should the message be? And both of us said, stop calling it Charger Stadium. It is a civic asset. And in every city, where people think we're lining the pockets of a billionaire by letting them build a stadium there. Well, you are lining the pockets of the billionaire, but the billionaire is only using that stadium 8 times a year, 10 times a year. The rest of it goes towards monster truck races and Billy Graham.
Anything.
And Up With People.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
NCAA championships and everything else. That's just San Diego. I've not even mentioned the Chargers once. It just seems to me that if you can activate economically an area, and is there any area in the country that needs it more than New Orleans over the course of the last
No, they with what the city of New Orleans has gone through, they deserve every gold coin that comes their way for sure. And they'll get it again this year. And the thing is with New Orleans, we just know they had that terrorist attack, on Bourbon Street. The city of New Orleans knows how to put on a party.
Yeah,
They will do a great job again.
I had the greatest time the week after the biggest party in the world.
Yes. That's the time to go. Before Mardi Gras, after New Orleans is beautiful.
All right. We have a huge show coming up. Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. Stand by. From the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, Big Biz Show coming your way. No longer raining here in sunny Southern California. Now it's sunny. Costa Mary Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully. Are we worried about Santa Ana's again here? Are we worried about, we got a little bit of rain? Are we back to the freaking crazy fire weather?
We've got rain coming again next week, I believe.
Okay, goodness.
Here in
I'm ready for it with my
my
warm sweater.
I was going to say
it's 30 degrees outside.
It's January. I know.
It's freezing.
It's not 30 out. It's 68 out here in
No.
San Diego. In the mornings, though, I'll give you 30. I'll give you in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some guy in Chicago right now going,
Where I'm headed in 3 days, so I'm preparing now.
You going to Chicago?
Chicago.
Are you
yes,
really?
Yes. I'll be in for a dance thing with my daughters, but yeah.
Inside or outside?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why are you not doing more theater type stuff?
Me personally?
Yes.
I don't.
You were such a theater. I realized all this stuff with dancing with the name that tune,
the songs,
and Wheel of bad ABBA music.
Yes. I did have my day with.
But you still
theater.
do have the day.
I do, but I don't have the time right now. But they're going to be gone in a year and a half.
You're booting those kids out. Boom.
Yep.
In a year and a half, I'll be back. Community theater. Here I come.
Are you going?
You'd be so friggin' good.
Oh my God.
You would be so good. I would love it.
Videos.
You start doing stuff like this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Every community theater is.
Oh yeah. Totally. I did it all.
It's like a bad, sitcom from the '80s. It's like.
I did all that.
God.
I found my high school production of Grease. Well, you're a former.
But I'm in the business.
Yeah.
But you need. I think you need a creative outlet other than.
This is it.
Who'd you play in Greece? Kaniki?
Are you?
Wow.
Did you play?
Yes.
It's just because you're tall.
I think.
Guess who I played?
Sandy.
Raw.
Of course.
Sandy.
You played Sandy?
Of course.
Sandy.
Straight at the drive-in.
Sandy Dombrowski. Everyone thought I was like the innocent little Sandy.
Did you have that leather number on at the end there?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Come on.
Of course.
Tell me about it.
I was more like.
Tell me about it.
I always wanted to be a Rizzo, but I wanted to be Rizzo.
You are such a
Rizzo.
Okay, this is not a surprise for us. Let's shift the focus. Were you in music? How do you know so much about musical theater?
Yeah.
I did some musical theater in high school.
Like
type
what?
of thing.
What show?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Where the pus comes running out your eyes.
That's right.
If you're in a show, if you're in shows, you always change the lyrics. Ours is
always.
Or Okinawa was the other one when the bombs come dropping.
Yeah.
So you played Oklahoma. You were Judd.
No, I was ensemble.
Oh, ensemble.
Yeah, just kind of 1,000%.
Yeah, right.
A lot of this,
How about
a
you,
lot
Greg?
of.
Yeah. Greg was in sports.
Yeah. No, have you ever seen The Big Lebowski?
Yes.
When his landlord does his sequence, that's my.
Did you ever do any theater? Did you do any sort of creative theater as a kid, or you just
Absolutely.
You were a scratch golfer, though.
Absolutely none.
Do you know why?
It was
do you know why? Because he's a man. That's why.
Pretty much. That's right. Yeah. Theater.
Speaking of Greg got a call from a shareholder from a company called Plur. And the name of the company is Pluri Biotech. And of course, he got the CEO. The CEO is Yaky Yanay. He's the CEO and president of Pluri Biotech, and his ticker symbol PLUR, where technology comes to life all the way from, if I'm not mistaken, he's in Israel?
That's right.
My goodness. Let's get
That's how important we are.
Yaky, great to talk to you, sir. How are you?
Good to meet you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, listen, we got to get you to San Diego at some point and see if you can like the weather out here, because I understand that Israel is a lot like San Diego in terms of what it looks like and what it feels like.
Yeah, I'm actually in Haifa, which is like on the seaside with mountains. It's quite like it looks very much like San Diego. The weather is good, food is good. Nice. The music is good, so.
Oh, well, we got to roll. Hey, I have a question about state-of-the-art 3D cell expansion. What does that mean? And talk about what you guys are doing, so for folks that don't understand what you guys are all about.
Sure. So Pluri, we are a biotech company. We are a biotech company that works with cells. We are creating a product out of cells. And when you ask me what is a 3D, just take a look at yourself. You're built from 3D, you're built from tissue, you're built from layers of cells. And this is exactly what our technology is doing. We build a technology, a bioreactor technology, that kind of mimics the human body. And we allow cells to proliferate to grow in a very natural way, kind of mimicking the structure of tissue in human body. And controlling all the environment that allow the cells to proliferate in a very natural way. And we're using this technology and this vast patent portfolio that we have around it to create different products.
And so you talk about products. You're in the agricultural space. I read about coffee, and such. Talk about that a bit.
Well, we drink coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. And that's something that came about a year ago. Pluri is active in quite a lot of verticals that we are developing our cell-based product for in order to produce the different products that we used to take from nature. So 2 years ago, we built a company together with one of the largest food producers in the world that is creating cultivated meat. We are actually taking meat cells and growing them in a reactor. And the coffee story is actually funny because a year ago, I got a call from one of the largest coffee companies in the world. And they said, hey, Yaky, we are following your technology and we saw what you did on the cultivated meat. Can you do cultivated coffee, like creating a coffee in a bioreactor, as you see? And I literally started to laugh on the Zoom. I told them, guys, are you serious? Why the hell do you need cultivated coffee? I understand meat, I understand cultivated fish, but why coffee? And they told me, yeah, you're right, but in 20 years, we're going to lose 50% of the global production because of change of climate. And we need to find a solution. And then I said, oh my gosh, 50% reduction in production, that's bad news. I will not take my daily coffee from 6 cups to 3 cups, so we need to find a solution.
Well, I think on that subject, as you may be thinking, I think the real crisis would be if we have a shortage of wine coming up. So I want you guys to get to work on that.
Exactly, get on the grapes.
If we start losing grapes and wine, I think we're all in trouble.
Yaky Yanay is the CEO, president of Pluri. Their ticker symbol is PLUR. He's live with us all the way from Israel today. Yaky, how big is the public perception hurdle of lab-grown meat or lab-grown protein for people to get over before there's a seriously big adoption rate?
It's a great question because specifically on meat, we do see like the public discussions around it. Mm-hmm. Pluri's focus, we see Pluri, first of all, Pluri is a big platform that creates different products using cells. So we have some product on pharmaceuticals that we are using, and we have the cultivated meat and also on the agriculture. On the cultivated meat, we see different opinions around it. On one hand, we're seeing Florida trying to avoid it. I mean, and there's trying to pass a bill against it. But on other places, we see places that are actually trying to adopt it. And especially when you look at certain territories, and specifically on the Asian market, we see a major need.
Yaky, stay right there. We're gonna hold you over because it's so interesting. Because what I want to understand about also is you're also in the life sciences business at the same time. And you talk about adoption as a company. Adopting lab-grown meat, lab-grown coffee, lab-grown wine, get on those grapes. But now you also have to talk about a company in perception that's dealing with biopharma, biotech, as well as food and agribusiness. Stand by. His name is Yaky Yanay. Name of the company is Pluri, Pluri, and their stock ticker is PLUR. We're back in just one second. Hey, they're live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. 125 million TV homes strong in the U.S. Let's not forget Bloomberg, El Financiero abroad, an American Forces network in 175 countries, and all the ships at sea. Big Biz Show is on the air. Look who we have in the studio. Our real estate expert. By the way, you are now our real estate expert. Without you know.
I'm on.
Jason Berry.
Thank you.
JasonBerryTeam.com, BerryEstates.com. He's based here in San Diego, where we broadcast from, but is able to talk about sort of the trends because, like fashion moves east to west, real estate moves west to east, it seems like, in terms of valuations, at least what I'm reading in the news. Now, I gotta say, and I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but these Pacific Palisades fires, which is such a tragedy and probably a preventable tragedy, not trying to be political about it, but I mean, even here in San Diego where we have what's called a fire season and we're right in the middle of it, I'm not even sure local officials have done enough to protect us about something that you're probably not familiar with if you live in a different part of the country. But I gotta believe it's gonna affect real estate prices in terms of, we had a problem with supply demand before.
Correct.
Now you've got people that want to relocate to areas, San Francisco, San Diego, Arizona, because they're 4 years away from having a home rebuild up there, right? It's a grotesque thing to have to talk about, but it's a real thing, isn't it?
It's terrible, but the reality is you look at what occurred up there, right? You had 6,000 structures burned down. You had over 100,000 people, I think, evacuated out of the area.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about communities being wiped out. So to look at it to kind of, to give something comparable in comparison is really look at, even if you were to think Del Mar, the community, Solana Beach, the community Ranch Santa Fe.
Which are beach communities here in Southern California, which would be considered high dollar communities, correct?
Yes, just being wiped out. That's what brings home,
a place the size of,
or even La Jolla.
half of Austin, Texas, was just blown off the map in terms of acreage.
I was wondering that.
Okay, if you think in terms of parts of, if half of Manhattan burned down in terms of scale of acreage, that's what you're talking about here.
Right.
And we're talking about the fact that there's a couple of headwinds here. First of all, will insurance companies ever insure these people again? Number two, how do you keep people from getting gouged by the onslaught of new construction that's going to start happening right this second? And then is it easier just to take that insurance money that you had and move out of another area, which is going to affect other areas close by, correct?
There's a lot of things to consider. Absolutely will affect areas close by, but you look initially, what is the first impact that you find? And that's actually on the rentals, right? You look, life once again is about convenience in terms of they want to try and stay close to where, this tragedy occurred. So they're trying to go to Manhattan, they're trying to go Manhattan Beach, trying to go to Palos Verdes, close areas there nearby. And the rents, which you've seen in those areas, is double, triple, which is unbelievable because demand as well. So they are trying to look at price gouging too. So they are going to be investigating that. So that's going to be interesting. But to Greg's point, you are seeing it, in terms of a trickle effect. They're coming down too. They're coming down to the coast.
So if you're watching us from another area, if you think in terms of where LA is, and then you have Orange County below that, and then of course San Diego below that. Are you going to see, and above, of course, is overvalued or overpriced, I should say,
Santa Barbara.
Bay Area.
Well, but also another fire hazard up there too.
Exactly.
Right?
So are you going to see those areas concentrically?
So we
have more sales, more rents, or is it all of the above?
So I think it's going to be all of the above. What we're seeing immediately is more rents, absolutely, right now. So we've been inundated with a lot of demand from the Palisades area down here, initially looking for rentals, but also looking for sale too. So it's hitting all aspects of it. And then if you try and forecast beyond that too, the people, these families that are relocating here, and they're enjoying the area, what percentage of that population turns into full-time? Yeah. Well, it's going to happen, right? So you just look at, once again, you're talking about supply demand, you are going to see the demand rise. That's just a natural progression is what you're going to see. And so that is going to impact values, again, we hope positively down here. But once again, it's a tragedy what you see, but just what is the outcome going to be? It's going to be positive for the luxury communities here in San Diego.
What happens up there in terms of those areas where you have just scorched earth and just a couple homes left? Yeah. Will they rebuild, do you think? Will those areas be able to be rebuilt at some point?
I think you're going to see all of that. You're going to see fast tracks being put through the cities to try and help the building. But it's going to be very interesting to see what does happen, right? Because think about this. A lot of those homes, if you were to think, were purchased or deals occurred back in 2021, the COVID area, when rates were low.
Right.
So those people had fabulous rates, right? Now all of a sudden they've got to go rebuild.
And what's the average rate? What's the average rate now? 5-6%?
6%. You're looking at 6.5%. Is where you're at now. So it's a different rate environment.
What is the difference in a payment between a 4% mortgage and is it a couple $1,000s per? How do you guys calculate?
So let's look at it. So in terms of the luxury community, so a $2.5 million loan. So let's say a $5 million purchase,
which is very typical of Pacific Palisades and higher than that.
Correct.
Okay.
So back in 2021, if you were doing a loan back then at like a 2.25%, you're looking at a monthly payment of $4,700 a month. Not that bad. Now you're looking at about $17,000 a month. That's significant.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
No kidding.
Significantly different.
So the difference in payment is that much higher.
Yeah. So that's another consideration you're going to have to look at when you're looking at everything that's going on with the rebuilding of these communities.
Jason Berry's our guest. Jason Berry, of course, jasonberryteam.com, berryestates.com, as a real estate expert on the Big Biz Show. There is a philosophy there's only two paths to wealth in this country. You have to own real estate, you have to own a business. By owning a share of stock in Apple, you own a business. Okay, so it's equities or real estate. There is this philosophy that says if you rent, you don't have to worry about property taxes, you don't have to worry about maintenance, okay? And you can take that money that you would have spent on a house and put it in the equities market. Do you think more people will start renting now going forward, or do you think purchasing real estate is still going to be sort of the stalwart?
I think, well, the thing that's nice about real estate is when you're looking at investments, you're looking at the market, everything else. One thing, just the basics, real estate is real. You can feel, touch, see, and you can actually personally enjoy it.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, that's something that's wonderful as opposed to renting. You do not. You're not investing in something that's yours. And
there is a difference.
There is. Well, there's also, the reality or the hopeful reality that what you're investing in as you purchase, you're building equity.
Yeah.
Right. So you're looking to build equity and
Right.
investment in something that you're putting in, especially in some place that you do believe in typically.
Right.
So that's where we believe real estate, and once again, there's a shortage of housing. So if there is, it's got to be a great investment.
In terms of the rest of the country, will something like this affect other areas of the country? Because it's going to affect Southern California and probably Central California in terms of supply demand. There's just not enough homes, and people who live in California are used to living in California.
Right.
Or Eduardo was saying people are moving to Montana. I mean, they might just be like, blow this.
Montana ain't cheap either. But the point, do you think there's something, because this is a big catastrophe, not in terms of just the human loss and such, but you're talking about a GDP, a local gross domestic product, in that area, which is higher than most areas in the whole country. So if you think in terms of that, it's got to have far-reaching effects elsewhere in terms of real estate values, which makes us think, okay, where are mortgage rates going to go? Like, what happens?
No, that's true. That's true. But back to the original, yeah. I mean, it looks like there is to a certain degree a migration that is occurring right now, right? So the question is how permanent is that migration? That's going to be the question. So time will tell. I think in the next 6 months, we're going to have pretty good indicators of that. In the next year, we're going to have great indicators of exactly where the direction looks like we're headed. In terms of mortgage rates, that's the scratch in your head, right? We've got to wonder, where's this economy going? Stock market is strong.
And mortgage covers the long bond, not the short interest rates. So when the Fed drops its rates, they're not dropping rates that immediately affect mortgage rates. That affects credit cards and car loans and savings accounts. If you were to unfortunately be one of the people that lost a home there, okay, and let's say you had a $5 million home, you got a $2.5 million mortgage, you probably got a $3 million or $4 million rebuild insurance policy to get your house. Would you rebuild or would you go move elsewhere? What would you personally do?
I think it depends, right? I mean, you look at some of those communities where the total community has been wiped out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
the local grocery store.
Yeah, you're going to meet, I think, and speak with your loved ones and really decide, guys, this is what it looks like. It looks like it's probably a 2, 3, 4 year time horizon for us personally to get this. And what does our community look like at that point in time? I think one thing is nice is this is an opportunity for a lot of those people too. And I see this happening through a lot of my connections up there in LA with some of the top agents, where a lot of these owners are kind of getting together, it's making them come closer and more tight knit, which is really nice to see. Sense of community, care, concern, where they're trying to get together and they're trying to forecast and really plan, for that future to see how they can help, integrate and make it better for the future. That's actually nice to see happening too.
Real quickly, before we let you out of here, I want to talk about your Instagram and how people get a hold of you. But before you do that, talk about fire insurance up there. What in the state of California specifically? This is like tornado insurance or hurricane insurance.
You default to the California Fair Plan, which is a max at $3 million. But right now, State Farm, they took off. Everybody knew that. They bailed out. The local areas down here, it seems like, You've got a couple still. Pure is, I think, one of the stalwarts that's pretty big in there right now. Yeah. But, for them to come back in, I think there are going to have to be some changes made. It's interesting.
Are those legislative changes? Are those mandates through government, or are they just going to have to be through the shareholders? Say, look, you're losing money by not writing here.
Potentially, each one of those could motivate it, right?
Okay.
But it's interesting. We have a lot of friends in our communities that are being very proactive. One is a wonderful friend named Ellen Stiefler. She even wrote an article to the communities like, look, what can you do for fire preparedness, right? What can you do? And she gives some great examples in there too. Right. Just talking about different vegetation going through.
I planted pickleweed around my property.
There you go.
All around, ice plant a long time ago. And it was the ugliest thing in the world. I can't really see it on the embankment, but I had a Cal Fire came by one day because they come by once a year to our area. And we got an A+ because of the fact that you got to be proactive about it, right? How do people get it? You have 130,000, 140,000 followers on Instagram and social. How do people find you?
So jasonberryteam.com is where they typically find us right there.
And on Instagram?
On Instagram, Jason Berry Team.
All right, very good. We'll put it up there on the screen for you. Jason.
Wonderful.
See you in a couple weeks.
Guys.
I'd have you here every day if I could. More Big Biz Show coming up. Stand by. Big Biz Show.
You guys are fabulous.
Yeah, you as well.
In over 175 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. To the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, as always, thank you for what you do, what you've done for us. It's the Big Biz Show for the Loft 100 Studios. Ready, Costa, Rick Conrad, Sully.
A lot of talk from our viewing audience about Anixa Biosciences. Got a lot of email last time. Amit Kumar, Chairman and CEO of Anixa Biosciences, was on the air with us. ANIX is their stock symbol. ANIX, ANIXA. And the big question is about immunotherapy, particularly focusing on harnessing the immune system for early cancer detection. So I'm going to start out right off that because Anixa is focused on the treatment and prevention of cancer. Of course, we've talked to him, and it's a favorite guest. Amit, when our folks are emailing about your performance or about your on-air appearances and they're talking about immunotherapy, it's sort of easy for us who live in San Diego, and I realize we broadcast everywhere, but we're a cancer center here in San Diego. We hear immunotherapy in every single radio ad, from the San Diego Padres baseball broadcast down to the morning news here. Mm-hmm. But for the rest of the country and the rest of the world where we broadcast, can you just walk us through immunotherapy to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Immunotherapy is a procedure or a process where we harness the body's immune system in a number of different ways to destroy cancer. The distinction between chemotherapy, which a lot of people know about, is that chemotherapy is essentially a chemo agent is essentially a poison that tries to kill cancer cells, but it also tends to kill a lot of healthy cells. And the goal is to kill cancer cells faster than healthy cells. That doesn't always work. The concept of immunotherapy is that we're not trying to destroy the cancer directly with whatever the therapy is. We're trying to use the therapy to boost the body's immune system and enable the immune system to go after the cancer. And that has resulted in tremendous success in a number of different types of cancers using a number of different immunotherapy approaches. And we utilize a couple of different approaches as well for our therapies.
Amit, are we on track to one day completely get rid of chemotherapy, or will there always be a need for it?
At least in the near term, there will be a need for it. But over the next few decades, I anticipate the immunotherapy area will become not only a major component of treating cancer, but perhaps the primary component of treating cancer. And to answer your questions, it's possible one day that we will be able to avoid many of these very toxic chemotherapies.
You as a company are involved in novel therapeutic vaccines that harness that immune system of ours. Talk about that a little bit, because that's the highlight here, is that you have a novel approach to enhance my body's ability to fight potential cancer, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Sully, for that question. We have a number of different vaccines that are in development. The most advanced is a breast cancer vaccine, and it's designed to be a prophylactic vaccine, meaning a preventative vaccine. The idea, the long-term vision for that vaccine is that we want to be able to give it to any woman in the world and prevent breast cancer. Initially, we're focused on women who've already had cancer, cancer survivors, gone through their treatment, have had surgery and all of the various other things that are standard of care. But these are women that are at high risk for getting the cancer again. And we want to see if we can induce an immune response in these women against the cancer itself, so that when the breast cancer reoccurs, and reoccurs at the earliest stages, 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, that we'll be able to have the immune system ready in that patient to destroy those cancers, and so they never become a tumor. That's the vision. And now we've also got another program in preclinical studies in ovarian cancer. We're working on programs in lung, prostate, and colon as well.
Amit Kumar is the chairman CEO of Anixa Biosciences, ticker symbol ANIX.
When you talk breast cancer, you're also talking about ovarian cancer that we talked about last time. Is this all the same sort of therapy, or is this something completely different?
Yeah, actually, we have 2 programs in ovarian cancer. One is a vaccine, and that's in preclinical studies. But we also have another immunotherapy called CAR T therapy, which is a relatively new type of immunotherapy that created a lot of buzz a few years ago when it was able to be very successful against certain leukemias and lymphomas. However, it has been unsuccessful in solid tumors. However, our program has some unique attributes, and we're working on this program at the Moffitt Cancer Center. The clinical trial is going on at the Moffitt Cancer Center, and we've only treated 6 patients so far, so it's very early. But we're already starting to see indications of efficacy, and we hope this therapy will be the very first therapy in a solid tumor targeting ovarian cancer. And these are women who have failed pretty much everything else and are essentially on death's door. And we're already starting to see some impact on these women.
Hey, Mike, Amit, I know that Mike's got a question about AI, but real quickly, bring up that chart again for me in the control room. I think Dawes and Christy, if you can bring up the FDA chart one more time. If you talk about lung, colon, and prostate cancer, those are other solid tumor cancers. Is there a chance that your therapy, the modality of vaccine, either that or CAR therapy, can perhaps go beyond breast, ovarian, colon? I mean, potentially all solid tumor cancers if there's a fit.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the vision. The success so far of the breast cancer vaccine in human clinical trials has induced us and our partner, the Cleveland Clinic, to conduct research on lung, prostate, and colon. And so between lung, prostate, colon, breast, and ovarian, those are, sort of the big 5 cancers. And if we can develop vaccines to prevent all of those cancers, that would be an amazing, amazing thing for the world.
Amit, how is AI assisting in the fight?
Well, AI is utilized in a number of different ways, and AI is a bit of a buzzword, but what we do is when we're looking for specific proteins that we want to target with our vaccines or antigens that we want to enable the immune system to target, we're utilizing a number of different computing approaches to look for those specific proteins. And once we've discovered them, we've already discovered them for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. We're in the process of doing that discovery for lung, prostate, and colon.
And so the arc of the story for you, Amit, is that FDA goes through their clinical trials, and we're far along on the first one we talked about. Is there any idea in your mind on when this goes to market, and will it be a situation where you do a risk-averse model where a bigger company might bring it to the market, or will you take this all the way to the doctor's offices and the surgery suites?
Our plan is to take it and partner it with a bigger company to help facilitate not only the completion of the final clinical trials, but all of the manufacturing, marketing, distribution, and so forth. They all have the infrastructure to do that. It would be prohibitive for a small company to do that ourselves.
Yeah, because that is the risk-averse model for folks like you. Then you go on to the next therapy, correct?
That's exactly right. Our goal is to innovate and then get it to a point where big pharma is interested in taking it to the market.
Amit Kumar, you'll see him next week. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. He is the chairman and CEO of Anixa Biosciences. ANIX, you hear us talking about him here all the time on the program. Anixa focused on the treatment and prevention of cancer using immunotherapy, harnessing our own vaccines.